Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered how it all came to be? We see stars, planets, and vast galaxies. We live on a world teeming with life. We can think, feel, and ask big questions. But what if I told you that, according to the laws of physics, none of this should exist? The very fact that you are hearing these words is a profound mystery. Science tells us that our universe began with a massive event called the Big Bang. In that initial moment, all the energy that would ever exist was unleashed. From that energy, matter was formed. But matter had a twin, an opposite, called antimatter. And these two were destined for a collision course that should have left nothing behind but light. The existence of matter is something we take for granted. The chair you are sitting on, the air you are breathing, your own body, it is all made of matter. Physicists discovered in the 20th century that for every particle of matter, like an electron, there is a corresponding antiparticle, like a positron. They are identical in mass but have opposite charges. Think of them as perfect mirror images of each other. The strange thing about matter and antimatter is what happens when they meet. They don't just bump into each other, they annihilate each other completely, converting their mass back into pure energy. This is not a theory, it is a process that scientists have observed and measured in laboratories. This fundamental rule of physics creates a giant puzzle for our existence. If the Big Bang produced equal amounts of matter and antimatter, as our best theories predict, then they should have all found each other and canceled each other out. Imagine a room filled with an equal number of positive and negative magnets. They would all snap together, neutralizing each other, leaving no magnetic force behind. The early universe should have been like that. It should have become a vast, empty sea of light with no substance left to form stars, galaxies, or people. Yet, here we are. Something is missing from the story. The fact that our universe is made of matter is the starting point for one of the biggest investigations in all of science. It is a cosmic cold case. Where did all the antimatter go? Why did matter survive? The answer to this question is not just an academic exercise. It touches on the very reason for our being. It forces us to look at the evidence and consider whether our existence is merely a lucky accident or the result of something far more intentional. The clues are written in the fabric of the cosmos itself, waiting for us to examine them. Was our universe a fluke, or was it designed for life from the very beginning? Let's travel back in time to the first moments after the Big Bang. Imagine an explosion of unimaginable power and heat. The universe was smaller than the period at the end of this sentence, yet it contained all the energy that would ever be. In this primordial furnace, energy was constantly converting into pairs of particles and antiparticles. For every electron that popped into existence, a positron was also born. For every quark, an antiquark appeared. It was a perfectly balanced dance of creation. Matter and antimatter were being produced in equal measure, a perfect symmetry that physicists believe governed the dawn of time. The universe was a chaotic, sizzling soup of these twin particles. This state of perfect balance, however, was also a state of constant destruction. As quickly as a particle-antiparticle pair was created, it would find another pair and annihilate. The early universe was a frantic battlefield of creation and annihilation happening billions of times every second. Think of it like a cosmic fire where sparks of matter and antimatter were continuously being born from the flames and then immediately extinguishing each other. The energy from their annihilation would then create new pairs, continuing the cycle. This process was the dominant feature of the young cosmos, a breathtaking display of nature's fundamental laws in action. The universe was a sea of light punctuated by the brief lives of countless particles. According to our understanding of physics, this process should have continued until the universe expanded and cooled. As it cooled, there would no longer be enough energy to create new pairs. The existing particles and antiparticles would have continued to find each other and annihilate until nothing was left. The final result should have been a universe filled with photons, particles of light, and very little else. There would be no protons, no neutrons, no atoms. There would be no building blocks for anything solid. The story of the cosmos should have ended almost as soon as it began, leaving behind a vast, empty, and very boring universe. It would be a silent memorial of light to what could have been. This theoretical outcome is known as the baryon asymmetry problem. The baryon part refers to particles like protons and neutrons that make up the atoms we know. The asymmetry part refers to the fact that there is a stunning lack of balance. Our universe is almost all matter, with virtually no antimatter. This is a direct contradiction to what the standard model of particle physics predicts. The evidence is all around us. We are here. The Earth is here. The stars are here. The beautiful symmetry that should have defined the early universe was somehow broken, leaving behind the ingredients for us. The great mystery is how? What tipped the scales? The solution to the mystery seems to lie in a tiny, almost imperceptible imbalance. For some reason, the perfect symmetry between matter and antimatter was not so perfect after all. Scientists now believe that for every 1 billion pairs of matter and antimatter particles, the Big Bang produced just one extra particle of matter. Imagine a cosmic tug-of-war with 1 billion people on each side. The fight would be perfectly balanced. But if you add just one extra person to one of the teams, that team will eventually, slowly, win. This is what we think happened in the first moments of time. A slight asymmetry, a tiny preference for matter over antimatter, changed everything. After the frenzy of annihilation was over, after all the billion-to-billion matchups had canceled each other out, that one lonely particle of matter in 1 billion was left over. It had no antimatter partner to annihilate with. It was a survivor, and it was not alone. This happened over and over again across the entire universe. All the protons, neutrons, and electrons that make up you, me, the planet Earth, and all the shining stars are the leftovers from that great annihilation. We are the cosmic survivors, the remnants of a battle that should have left no one standing. All the substance in our vast universe is the result of that 1 in 1 billion advantage. This is a staggering thought. The entire physical reality we experience is essentially a rounding error. If the balance had been perfect, we would not be here. If the imbalance had been slightly different, the universe would be a very different place. This slight asymmetry is not just a curious detail. It is the necessary condition for our existence. It's as if the rules were subtly bent in favor of matter. Scientists like the Russian physicist and dissident Andrei Sakharov proposed the conditions needed for this to happen. But the exact mechanism remains one of the greatest unsolved problems in physics. We know the imbalance must have occurred, but we don't yet know why. Think about the precision required. The imbalance had to be small enough for the universe to be stable, but large enough to produce the cosmos we see today. It had to be just right. This leads us away from just the what and how and pushes us toward the why. Why was there an imbalance at all? Why was it exactly the right amount to produce a universe capable of supporting life? Was this incredibly fortunate break in symmetry a random statistical fluctuation? A lucky roll of the cosmic dice? Or does it point toward something more? Does it suggest a level of foresight and planning that transcends mere chance? This idea of a universe that is just right for life is not limited to the matter-antimatter mystery. As scientists have peered deeper into the cosmos, they've discovered that the universe appears to be exquisitely fine-tuned for our existence. And this is not a philosophical statement but a scientific observation. There are a number of fundamental constants and quantities in nature, things like the strength of gravity, the charge of an electron, and the rate at which the universe expands. If you were to change the value of any of these constants by even a tiny fraction, the results would be catastrophic. A universe capable of forming stars, planets, and complex life would be impossible. For example, consider the force of gravity. If it were slightly stronger, stars would burn too hot and too quickly for life to have a chance to develop on any surrounding planets. If it were slightly weaker, stars and galaxies would never have formed in the first place. The nuclear force that binds atoms together is another example. If it were just a few percent weaker, only hydrogen would exist. No carbon, no oxygen, no life. If it were slightly stronger, all the hydrogen would have been rapidly converted into heavier elements, leaving no fuel for long-lasting stars like our sun. The list goes on and on, a series of cosmic coincidences that all fall within the razor-thin range required for life. The late astronomer Fred Hoyle, who was famously an atheist for most of his life, was so struck by this evidence that he said it looked like a super-intellect has monkeyed with physics, as well as with chemistry and biology. He compared the chance of obtaining a life-permitting universe to the chance that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard might assemble a Boeing 747 from the materials therein. The odds are so infinitesimal that to believe it all happened by chance strikes many as an act of blind faith. The universe seems to be balanced on a knife's edge, and we are living in that perfect, improbable balance. This is the heart of the fine-tuning argument. When you look at the evidence, you are faced with a choice. One possibility is that we just got incredibly lucky. Perhaps there are an infinite number of other universes, a multiverse, and each has different physical laws. We just happen to live in the one where the numbers came up right. This is a popular theory, but it is one that, by its very nature, is impossible to prove or disprove. The other possibility is that the fine-tuning is not an accident at all. It is the result of purpose and deliberate design. It is evidence that the universe was prepared for us. For many people of faith, especially Christians, this evidence of a finely tuned universe is not a surprise. It aligns perfectly with the belief in a purposeful creator. The Bible begins with the declaration, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." That's Genesis 1:1. This verse speaks of an intentional act, a moment when a transcendent intelligence brought the cosmos into being. The idea that this creator would set the initial conditions of the universe with a specific outcome in mind, namely, a place that could support life and beings who could know him, is a cornerstone of Christian theology. The fine-tuning of physics looks less like a lucky coincidence and more like the work of a master craftsman. The Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Romans, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made." That's Romans 1:20. He is making a powerful claim that we can look at the creation and see evidence of the Creator. 2,000 years ago, this would have meant looking at the beauty of a sunset, the complexity of a flower, or the vastness of the stars. Today, we can add the fine-tuning of the fundamental constants of physics to that list. The discoveries of modern cosmology, far from disproving faith, have provided a new and powerful language to describe the majesty of the creation. Physicist and theologian John Polkinghorne, who spent his life studying the building blocks of matter, concluded that the universe was not any old world, but it's one that is strikingly fine-tuned in its physical fabric for the possibility of life. He saw this as a clue that pointed beyond science to a deeper reality. For him, and for many others, the idea of a creator who imbued the universe with purpose provides a more satisfying and complete explanation than the appeal to sheer chance. It answers the why question that science alone cannot. Why this particular set of laws? Why this specific degree of imbalance? The answer from a Christian perspective is, for a purpose. This doesn't mean that science and faith are in conflict. In fact, it's the opposite. The scientific method uncovers the facts, the what and the how. It reveals the incredible precision of the universe's laws. Faith then offers a framework for interpreting those facts, for understanding the why. It suggests that the 1 in a billion survival of matter was not an accident, but a provision. It suggests that the knife-edge balance of the laws of physics was not luck, but an intention. The fingerprints of a designer, according to this view, are all over the evidence. Of course, the scientific community has not reached a consensus on this issue. There are brilliant minds working on alternative explanations. The multiverse theory, as mentioned, suggests that our universe is just one of countless others, making our seemingly improbable existence an inevitability. Other scientists are searching for a deeper underlying physical principle, a theory of everything, that would show that these constants could not have been any different. These are important avenues of research, driven by the desire to explain the cosmos through natural processes alone. These theories deserve our respect and consideration as we continue to explore the universe. However, we must be honest about the state of the evidence right now. The multiverse remains a purely theoretical idea with no direct observational evidence to support it. The search for a deeper theory has so far not explained why the resulting universe would be so hospitable to life. As it stands, the fine-tuning is a brute fact. The universe does appear to be designed for us. So, we are left with a decision. Do we place our faith in unproven theories that might one day explain away this apparent design? Or do we consider the possibility that it is exactly what it looks like? An act of purpose, a creation. The mystery of our existence, from the survival of matter to the fine-tuning of the cosmos, is not just a problem for physicists. It is an invitation for every one of us to wonder. It prompts us to ask the deepest questions of meaning and purpose. Are you a cosmic accident, the result of a random fluctuation in a meaningless universe? Are you the product of a lucky draw in a vast, unseen cosmic lottery? Or is your existence something more? Is it possible that the universe was crafted with you in mind, that the laws of physics were set just right so that you could one day look up at the stars and ask these very questions. Ultimately, the choice is yours. The evidence is on the table. You can examine the case for a random, unguided process, or you can investigate the case for a creator. I encourage you not to dismiss the evidence of design simply because it points toward a conclusion that is beyond science. Look at the facts for yourself. Ponder the incredible unlikelihood of our existence. Consider the possibility that the universe is not a cosmic accident, but a cosmic home, built for a purpose. Are we here by chance, or are we here by design? It is the most important question you will ever answer.